one. So, defends MP Ma. So, Ma came out and he didn't defend, but he kind of played down forced labor in China, Uyghur population, because he was called out on that. Let's see. Carney refuses to say if there's forced labor camps in China. I don't know if there's forced labor camps in China. I mean, can we really know? Like, the UN basically says that they exist, but the exact extent in which they exist and what's considered forced, what's not, I mean, that's a difficult situation to be. Let's see what he says.
Morning, Prime Minister Liam Casey with the Canadian Press. A little hard to hear you back there, but wondering if you believe that there is forced labor in China?
What is this guy yelling? Can somebody tell me what's he's yelling?
Casey with the Canadian Press. A little hard to hear you back there, but wondering if you believe that there is forced labor in China? Do you believe there is forced labor in China?
Just in case it was hard to hear, I'm going to repeat that. I'm going to answer your question in a second, but I'm going to repeat the main element of today's announcement: 8.8 billion partnership Ontario and Government of Canada, City working alongside, up to 200,000.
Wait, so they're doing a federal and provincial government working together, and they're just bringing up random. Oh, is there forced labor in China? Questions like, this is not the time or the place for that question.
Dollars, up to $200,000 off taxes and development fees for homes.
Yes. Yes. That is absolutely going to tank home prices, but like that's already happening. So
in Ontario for people getting onto the housing ladder, plus all of the major infrastructure being built in huge levels in consistent partnership. In terms of, look, I followed this issue over the years in China and elsewhere. And there is evidence of child labor around the world. There's evidence and there's existence, I should say, of child labor and forced labor around the world. There is a absolute requirement for companies, and I'll put it there first, to know who their suppliers are, the conditions of their suppliers. They have a reporting obligation here in Canada, public reporting obligation here in Canada for their supply chains. They have to comply with our laws, which obviously
So they may exist, but they don't supply us with goods. Like,
simplify them or against any element of forced or child labor in any element of the supply chain of goods that are imported into this country. And China, there are parts of China that are higher risk and therefore need to be diligent, yes.
I mean, he doesn't deny forced labor. Basically says that it may are looking out for it, show up in our goods. Like, forced labor is a terrible thing. Like, what what degree that exists. Like, there can be like coerced labor. Where exactly that line to forced labor, and that is a mess. I mean, I like his response. There are places in the world that these things happen. We require our companies to know where their suppliers and in what condition the suppliers are doing their business, um, to prevent goods from somewhere like that ending up in our country. Like, that's all you can really do. There's no way he can go to China and get them to change how they do their labor. I say that was a good response.
Morning,
Now,
Prime
that certainly wasn't him defending and now I'm lost. Here we go. Now witnessing a car crash in slow motion as Carney has publicly backed Mann and refused to directly say if there's forced labor in China. They're going to be a large trading partner. They are a large trading partner. They're going to be a larger trading partner. You don't want to come out and say that. I certainly understand that. You do what due diligence you can do in your country. Like, most of China is a large part of China is very developed now. It doesn't mean it all is.
Has apologized.
Like, they have a huge country. What's their population? Like 1.3 billion? Trying to create a structure to organize that. You have 41 million Canada now. 25 times our size. And just in Canada, the diversity you can get across Canada is crazy. Imagine having 25 times the population.
For his comments, as he should have. He's recognized the seriousness of the issue in that apology. So the first is to recognize up front the seriousness of the issue. He does. He's apologized. He apologized.
How do you do anything with somebody just screaming in the background continuously? Like, when I watch the ice videos, I was thinking the same thing. Like, how do they even function with continuous whistles and background noise trying to throw you off? Like, is this a public speaking skill you learn at some point?
Directly to Ms. McQuaig Johnson as well, but then more broadly about the issue.
Paul Chang, one of your candidates in Markham, talked about turning over a conservative candidate to the Chinese consulate to receive a bounty placed on him by the Chinese Communist Party.
What was that?
On him by the Chinese conservative candidate to the Chinese consulate to receive a bounty placed on him by the Chinese Communist Party. Can you explain why you've not dropped him as a Liberal candidate?
He has apologized directly now to the person that he mentioned. Apologized directly to him yesterday. I've spoken to Mr. Chang as well over the course of the weekend to understand his position. He is a veteran policeman. Mr. Chang is a veteran policeman with more than a quarter century of service to his community. 28 years of defending.
Like, largely, I believe that he doesn't need to have an opinion on something that's happening in China. It sounds like he's been in Canada for a long time. you can't expect him to be like knowledgeable about something in a country that he hasn't lived in for at least 25 years.
Rights in this community, and he will continue with his.
March 31st, 25. This is not about Ma. Mark Carney refused to acknowledge the weird genocide. Mark Carney is publicly backed? Clearly, that's not this clip.
His candidate,
the commitment that we will not source material.
That you will not source any.
his candidacy.
Will you make the commitment on behalf of Brookfield that you will not source any materials from the Xinjiang region?
I'll make the commitment that we will not source materials that have the supply chain that you described. Yes.
So does that mean you will not source any materials for your solar panels from the Xinjiang region?
Well, I think one has to look at. I don't have with me today the exact source, the exact companies and the specifics. So I'm not, if I may, I'm not going.
Hey man, just getting off topic. I didn't hear him publicly backed him at all. Carney. I'm honestly I'm more interested in why he was here talking to Doug Ford than I am about his take on Michael Ma and the